This is such a magnificent site that it is indescribable. You know, and I've been here in this immediate vicinity many, many times, but it's too beautiful to describe in words.
This past May, the state announced the completion of the largest land acquisition in a century with the purchase of the 20,000-plus acres of the Boreas Ponds tract. It marked the final purchase from a 2012 agreement with the Nature Conservancy, where 69,000 acres of lands previously owned by the Finch Prine Paper Company came into state ownership. The cost for the Boras tract alone was $14.5 million.
From a conservation, preservation point of view, it's an amazing asset. It will also be an economic development asset because we have to do two things, especially if you're in the North Country. Preserve it, admire it, protect it. We also need economic development. We need jobs. We need a tax base. People need to work. I believe this is going to be an international tourism destination.
Now comes the process of classification and access. The hot button topic currently involves this eye-pleasing piece of land, the Boreas Ponds. The Adirondack Park Agency has created 4 alternatives which people can speak out on now. The question is, should the area be classified as wilderness or wild forest? The difference in vocabulary might not seem like much, but it's at the heart of the debate. Keith McKeever of the Adirondack Park Agency explains.
We have wilderness areas, which the major difference is these are areas that have very unique natural resources, and we are trying to protect those resources, and we don't allow motorized access on wilderness areas. While forest areas, they have resources that are also unique and beautiful, but they can withstand a higher degree of use, so you're allowed for motorized access on wild forest as well as mechanized access. Wilderness, you're not allowed to ride bikes on wilderness, so the big difference between wilderness and wild forest comes down to the type of access.
Fred Monroe is the executive director of the APA's Local Government Review Board and a former supervisor in the town of Chester. He feels if the land is to become a tourist destination, like the governor wants, a classification of wild forest is the best answer.
It's pretty clear from the couple recent studies that the Adirondack towns and villages need more economic activity. They're struggling, they're losing population, the schools are being depopulated. So local government supported that ideal and the governor's intent, and feel strongly that that's what should happen here.
Right now, this is as far as you can get with a motorized vehicle. If you want to get to Boreas Ponds from here, you're looking at about a 2-hour hike. And that's one of the points of contention. Should you be able to drive right up to the water on this already existing road? Roger Jingaleski is a retired senior forester with Finch Prine and worked on the land for decades.
There's 53 miles of truck road, all designed and capable of handling loads up to 50 tons or more, bridges, culverts, all throughout the property. There isn't a nook or cranny, a hillside or a valley that hasn't seen human activity. So this property has been and is a working property. All of the ecosystem, all the wetlands, all of the cover types really are a result of that human activity. So it is far from wilderness and much closer to wild forest.
The Adirondack Council recently put out a video arguing for wilderness, using a familiar voice.
This is Sigourney Weaver. I've been hiking and paddling Adirondack wilderness areas with my friends and family for more than 50 years. Over my lifetime, I have seen vital wilderness areas disappear across our planet. Here is a rare opportunity for New Yorkers to reverse that trend and allow wilderness to thrive on a historic scale.
Willie Janeway of the Adirondack Council has been a constant presence at the public hearings. The majority of environmental groups agree that the area around the ponds should be added to the park as wilderness.
There has been limited private use, but not public use, and public use is very different. And the 100-plus year history of the Adirondacks, what's made it so special, what's made property in the Adirondacks worth more in the park than outside the park, land near wilderness worth more than outside based on a Clarkson economic study, is that we have been restoring the wild character of this area. The area was clear-cut, it was burned, it was abused, it was mined. And for 120 plus years, the state of New York has been gradually enhancing the wild character of the park, ensuring more economic development on private lands and in hamlets, but better protection of the backcountry.
We're here for the presentation and for your comments, so we'll get right to it.
We were in Newcomb, not far from the ponds, where members of the public had 3 minutes to voice their opinion on the classification options, and there were many.
I vote for alternative number 1 for the Boreas Ponds.
I think the 4 alternatives are unacceptable, and I believe the Gulf Road should be closed and the Boreas Ponds tract should be classified as a full wilderness area. President Theodore Roosevelt once said, "It is also vandalism to destroy or to permit the destruction of what is beautiful in nature."
I'd like to see alternative 1, wild forest for the Gulf Brook Road and the roads around the pond. This would make it most accessible for people with disabilities, the people that can't walk 7.5 miles when all you guys want wilderness. It's ridiculous.
The Adirondack Council has said they would support motorized access up to a mile from the water and for the construction of an accessible trail to it for those who are disabled. The economic benefits are unknown at this point, but Fred Monroe says access to the ponds and around the ponds, like for example riding a bike on the property, is necessary to help the struggling Adirondack economy. And he says it's an issue of fairness for the taxpayer.
What's being proposed by the Access Adirondacks and local government groups would still create half wilderness and half wild forest. We think that's reasonable and that New Yorkers should support it because it'll allow them to see what they bought.